You're listening to Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill Gaming Podcast. Here's your host, John Wall.
It's February 19th, 2026, and welcome to episode 171 of Midlife Side Quest, the Over the Hill video game podcast. I'm your host, John Wall, and every Thursday morning I bring you 15 minutes of video game impressions, industry news, and tales of a Gen X geek. Thank you for tuning into the program. Today on this week's show, I'm going to be talking about the 40th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda. But first, let's take a look at the news from this past week. The gaming community lost two big names recently, as reported on Video Games Chronicle over the weekend. Hideki Sato, the designer behind all of Sega's home consoles, passed away at the age of 77. Sato and his team were responsible for the creation of the Sega Master System, the Genesis, Saturn, and the Dreamcast, plus a lot more. He also served as the president of Sega from 2001 to 2003. In a statement, Sega said, "We will always remember his contributions to our company, and all of us at Sega extend our deepest condolences as we honor his memory." We also learned that on February 10th, Shutao Aida, known for his work on both the Castlevania series and Bloodstained, passed away at the way too young age of 52 after battling pancreatic cancer. Aida worked for Konami from 1996 to 2015, primarily as a programmer, and he served as the designer and director of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night after joining studio Artplay. In a final statement posted on social media 11 days before his passing, Aida said, "It seems that the limit is near. I can feel myself growing weaker day by day. Please love Bloodstained 2, which will be released in the future, and the games that I made." In the beginning, the world was created by three goddesses. Din, the goddess of power, who created the land. Nairu, the goddess of wisdom, who created order. Furor, the goddess of courage, who created life. These three goddesses also created the Triforce, an object of amazing power that could grant any wish so long as the person who wielded it possessed the three virtues of the goddesses: power, wisdom, and courage. If someone unworthy attempted to use it, the Triforce would be split into three, and only by reuniting those pieces could the power of the Triforce be used. That story is at the heart of The Legend of Zelda, the series from Nintendo that this weekend is celebrating its 40th anniversary. It's one of the most iconic franchises in all of gaming, and it's one that I have played and loved for most of my life. I love it so much that I have the Triforce tattooed on my arm with the symbols for wife, son, and daughter etched into each of the three segments as a symbol of the three things that give me my strength. There have been over 20 games in the Zelda series, from the core, action role-playing titles, the main games, to offshoots like the rail shooter Link's Crossbow Training, and the hack and slash Hyrule Warriors games. There's the infamous CDI games, and of course, the truly bizarre and Japanese exclusive Ripened Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. Yeah, I haven't played that one. There's also a timeline that explains how and when all of these games fit together, but I'm not even going to try to attempt to explain all of that. It involves branching timelines and is a complicated web that I don't even understand. If you want to try to figure it all out, go buy the amazing Hyrule Historia books. Those are great. This all started, though, on February 21st, 1986, with the release of The Legend of Zelda for the NES. That original game was conceived and produced by legendary creator Shigeru Miyamoto, the man behind Mario and countless other series. Miyamoto was inspired by his childhood adventures growing up in rural Japan. In a 2015 interview with NPR, he described one of those experiences while he was hiking and how that helped him envision the game, stating, quote, "There's a place near Kobe where there's a mountain and you climb the mountain and there's a big lake near the top of it. We had gone on this hiking trip and climbed up the mountain, and I was so amazed. It was the first time I had ever experienced hiking up this mountain and seen this big lake at the top. And I drew on that inspiration when we were working on Legend of Zelda game, and we were creating this grand outdoor adventure." Takashi Tezuka was the man who wrote the story for the game and created most of the world. He was inspired by his love of fantasy novels, in particular The Lord of the Rings, but he also took inspiration from a variety of other places when creating the main characters. The design for the hero Link, for example, was based off of Peter Pan, which you may not have known, while Princess Zelda was named after the wife of writer F. Scott Fitzgerald because Miyamoto thought it sounded regal. In the game, the Kingdom of Hyrule is invaded by the evil Ganon and his army who steal the Triforce of Power. In response, Zelda breaks the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 pieces and hides them all around the kingdom to stop Ganon from using them, but is later captured. After saving Zelda's nursemaid Impa from Ganon's goons, he is tasked with reassembling the Triforce of Wisdom, rescuing Zelda, and defeating Ganon. It was a great setup, and despite Nintendo's nervousness about the open concept of the game being too difficult that people wouldn't be able to find their way, the game was a huge hit, selling 1 million copies in its first day alone in Japan. It would go on to sell over 6 million copies worldwide and is regarded as one of the most influential games of all time, spawning sequels, prequels, manga, cartoons, and next year a major live-action motion picture starring Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as Link and Bo Bragason as Princess Zelda. After 4 decades, the popularity of The Legend of Zelda shows no signs of slowing down at all. For me, my love of the series started with 1991's A Link to the Past. I know I had rented the original game and its sequel, The Adventures of Link, for a weekend or two from our local video store, Bigelow Video in Minneapolis, if anybody remembers. But it was that third game and the power of the Super Nintendo that really drew me in. I remember that feeling as a kid when young Link wakes up and steps outside into the rainy, stormy world of Hyrule. It was exciting and menacing and full of just endless possibility. It's a game that I can revisit at almost any time, and it's just as great as it was when 14-year-old me played it for the first time. I've played most of the main titles since then, I think. Not so much the handheld ones, but if it was on console, I think I played it. My favorite, other than Link to the Past, are probably Ocarina of Time, for just kind of how amazing that was to play in 3D for the first time. It was just such a new experience. I remember downloading the trailer for it and being wowed by how cinematic it felt. Wind Waker for its bold and creative new art style and wacky sense of humor. And obviously Breath of the Wild. I still think that's probably my favorite game of all time. It's just so brilliantly designed. The exploration and sense of discovery is just unmatched. I think one of the things that makes The Legend of Zelda so timeless is that it appeals to such a wide range of players, young and old. In an interview in 2017, Breath of the Wild producer Eiji Aonuma said, "We don't deliberately set out to create Zelda games that are for children, but we'd like to think that these games are enjoyable by people of all ages. There's something about a Zelda game that everyone can enjoy." The Legend of Zelda has been a part of my life since the beginning, and there are moments in time that I associate with certain games in the series. From being a kid in the 80s and early 90s, playing those very first games and discovering my love of gaming, to Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 as I became a young adult and I was paying for games with my own hard-earned money for the very first time. Twilight Princess on the Wii, which came out the year that I got married, and Breath of the Wild, which let me introduce these characters to my own children. I think that's pretty special. February is Black History Month, so I wanted to make sure to shout out some of my favorite content creators. Black gamers have shaped and influenced every corner of the gaming space since the beginning, but oftentimes Black voices in games media haven't been given the same level of attention or respect even. So here are some people that I think you should be following. Some of them I'm sure you know, some of them maybe not, but they all do fantastic work. Khalif Adams has to be at the top of this list. The creator and host of the Spawn on Me podcast has been a prominent voice for the Black gaming community for over a decade. He uses his platform to highlight marginalized communities in gaming and discuss important topics like diversity and inclusion. Andy Lunique is a man after my own heart, with his social feeds focusing on two of my favorite things in the world, video games and food. And he has great taste in both, whether you're looking for game recommendations or sexy food pics. He is worth a follow. Rihanna Manuel Pena is the host of The Danny and Rihanna Show and was a frequent contributor to What's Good Games. She also works in the games marketing and consulting business, so she's got a lot of great perspectives on how the sausage is made, I guess. There's Andre from Black Nerd Gaming. That guy is hilarious and so much fun, and if you are an 80s or 90s kid, he focuses on a lot of that stuff like Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, all that great stuff. For a great group of people, there's Black Girl Gamers. What started as a Facebook group has blown up into a huge community that covers all sorts of media, from TV and movies to anime. And finally, Paris Lilly is probably best known for his hosting duties on Gamertag Radio and Kind of Funny, but he's also hosted industry events for Xbox and has his own great YouTube channel. As a fellow older gamer, he brings a great perspective to the industry. So go follow all of these awesome people. You're going to be very glad that you did. Thank you for listening to Midlife Side Quest. I appreciate you making time in your day to hang out with me. You can catch a new episode every Thursday morning wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. Until next time, I am your host, John Wall. Have a great rest of your week, and don't forget to save.